speech, and I really should have thought about what I was going to say. But anyway, good morning. How are you, darling? I suppose I should set up the studio a little. Look, what day is it today? It is April 10th, 2024. You know, it's always been a traditional thing, well, particularly for old school radio people. We like to talk about what happened on this time, you know, whenever. So we're going to go back like on this date, etc., etc. So we're going in the Gregorian calendar. And April 10th is traditionally, or customarily, or ordinarily, what am I saying? The 100th day of the year, but because this is a leap year, it is the 101st. For those of you who like the numbers 111, there you go. It's a good day. It's always a good day when you make it a good day and then some bastard comes along and tries to spoil it. But that won't be us and that won't be you. So on this day, pre-1600, so listen to this. So in 1407, Deshkin Shekpa, the fifth Karmapa Lama, visits the Ming Dynasty capital at Nanjing and is awarded the title Great Treasure Prince of Dharma. So this is when China liked Tibet. Oopsies. So we're going to go back to 837 because this is interesting to me. Halley's Comet makes its closest approach to Earth at a distance equal to blah blah 5.1 kilometers. So that was in 837, the year 837. How do they know? What did they see? I want to know. Did they put like glass in one in front of the other? I want to know. Did they have telescopes back then? 837?
Probably, yeah, but not. It was probably just an eyeglass thing, you know. Captains used those.
Sure, but 837. I mean, this was not even the Gregorian calendar. 837 was Julian calendar.
Wow.
Gregorian calendar didn't come into it until about 1500s.
Right.
And Pope Gregory, this is the Roman Catholic calendar, by the way, that we all do. So that's what happened back then. Anyway, let's see what's happening. April 10th, 2024, news-wise, etc. So I am starting with Sydney Morning Herald. I have explained that I have my favorite news sources that I've chosen. I personally, when I'm reading the news for myself, get news from all over. Twitter as well as Instagram, as just looking at comments, etc. And the stock exchange, by the way, green stocks, as I explained yesterday. Yeah, wow, have they gone down? Well, they're not growing, let's just say. What is green is not growing. It's a bit sad. So let's talk about what's happening. Sydney Morning Herald, as I said yesterday, this independent always masthead isn't always telling the news. It's everyone chooses to stay impartial. That's great, but what does that mean for news readers and news people and news sources? Should the media being impartial, does that mean we are also supposed to, and I do say we, does that mean we are also supposed to be unemotional about things? I don't think so. I would like to show emotion and the fact that we are, and this media source that you're getting news from is impartial, sure, but not unemotional. So, and not impartial really as just being able to see a 360, not taking sides. Or do we take sides? You know what? I take a side. I certainly know that I am anti-genocide, so we're not on that side.
Yeah.
You know, let's go. Okay, what's happening? Sydney Morning Herald. How a Sydney grandmother took the horse racing world by storm. Horse racing is right up there. Wow. Now there's this huge kerfuffle, bit of a scandal happening here between, so it says, so between the channels and all these people that they hire. So News 7 expenses affair rocks sunrise, top network executives say. Or something. Goodness me. And then in little letters, Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and this is what I'm talking about: being impartial but you've got to be emotional. Be unemotional. I don't know how people want to do these things anymore, because they've got in big letters how a Sydney grandmother took the horse racing world by storm. So that it's cutesy, it's promoting gambling. It all seems like a bit of fun and good news games. And then in teeny tiny letters, it's Penny Wong stirs debate on Palestinian statehood. Penny Wong is our foreign minister, and she is of she's an Australian woman of Chinese ancestry, and she happens to be gay. Why this is important is not for Penny Wong's abilities to govern, or etc., but because of how they choose their people according to how the person is going to be perceived. So this is what I was saying, that what the White House is doing. This is what I said yesterday in yesterday's news, what the White House is doing, sending Black American women out there to speak up for them in the United Nations. That is so obvious. Anyway, look, Sydney Morning Herald, you're being a bit boring today. This is just talking about really what's happening in Sydney. Let's see what's happening in the world according to Sydney Morning Herald, but we'll go to Australian Broadcasting Corporation or Commission. I don't know what it's called anymore, but certainly in Australia, ABC's standing has taken a little bit of a fall because they refuse to take a stand because they've got to go by what the government says. The ABC is the government channel. It is the non-commercial channel, but unfortunately, that which we look to for showing us truth is now kind of shading it a little. So, New South Wales public school budget cut by 1.25% as principals forced back to classroom teaching. The New South Wales government announces a $148 million cut to public school funding and will require principals and deputies to return to classroom teaching to make up for the shortfall. You need teachers, huh? Well, you got to pay them. You've got to pay people who teach people. You've got to pay people who medically care for people. And that's not doctors I'm talking about. I'm talking about nurses. I'm talking about, aged care workers, etc., etc. Goodness me. I cannot believe that, and I talked a little bit about AUKUS, which is now JAWKUS because Australia, UK, and the US are cuz they're trying to get Japan to join in because they want to piss China off. I tell you now, don't piss China off because you don't know what China is capable of. I'm not on anyone's side on this one, but I'm sick and tired of the colonizers now trying to sully everyone else's mind just because China is finally saying, no more. We are waking up the dragon. Be careful. And it's not civilians who need to be careful. Actually, we do. We're the ones who bear the brunt of everything, don't we? If these people decide to go for war, who's going to suffer? Us. We are going to suffer. We are not going to stop telling you the news, though. Continuing with, so this is an analysis. So, okay, it's going to be a personal opinion. Why we're about to find out if the IDF learned anything from its grave mistake. I'm concerned about my sound, darling, because I have people coming in and out. So can you please just look somewhere to see if I've got sound happening? Because I should have sound happening. But I don't have sound. I may not have sound happening, and I'm a bit concerned about that. So, why we're about to find out if the IDF, aka the Colonizer Offense Forces, learned anything from its grave mistake. So, the IDF is still trying to explain exactly how aid workers, including Australian Zomi Francom, were fatally bombed by its forces in Gaza. But we could be about to find out whether Israel's military has learned anything from its grave mistake. No, they haven't. They made a mistake. And now they're like, oh, sorry, we didn't mean to do that. We were targeting just, Palestinian civilians. Sorry, we didn't mean to kill an Australian. We didn't mean to kill an American. We were just targeting innocent Palestinian civilians. Sorry about that. Cuz. Anyway, and so let's see what else is happening. New South Wales heritage listed ship that was Queen Elizabeth's royal yacht left languishing in bay. Let it rot. And I say this being a boat person, and so part of me is like, no, do something with it. How about this? How about we make the cabins on top of, in this, I'm sure it's a luxury yacht that can house a small village. How about we house refugees? How about we house refugees in it for a while, and or make it a special ship for women who are running away from domestic violence and need protection. And so we put them on the ship and put them sort of away from these perpetrators and criminals who are wanting to kill them and beat them up. We could do all sorts of things with things like this if people just thought outside of the box. New South Wales heritage listed ship. Goodness me, the SS South Stein sailed its maiden voyage on Sydney Harbour 86 years ago. The prized ferry has been without a home on the harbour going on 8 years as waterfront property takes precedence. Waterfront property. There is a real housing problem in Australia, in Sydney especially, where average people cannot find houses to live. The rents, well, we've all got to start selling, organs for rent. Ah, man. And it's because the waterfront properties of Sydney, well, they just get, bought up, lapped up by the rich of other countries, and they're always pointing to China, because China is buying up property, latchkey residences they call them, because no one's actually living in them. So they're just not even locked. So there's all these empty houses everywhere. But it's not just China. It's people in England. It's the Americans. It's people in Europe. It is Australians, because the wealth in Australia is something else. And of course, there's a lot of Indians who are Indians who own Sydney properties in Sydney, because, hello, have you seen the number of billionaires in India? That divide is growing. I don't know where the middle class, I hate these terms, but there's no other way to really, state them. I don't know where that's going in India. I do think that's getting bigger, but I hope they're getting the work. They're not getting the work, so they do that demographic is getting bigger, sure. But are they getting the work? But Indians have always been very innovative. Half the world's innovations do come from India. And guess what? Guess who's programming AI? Well, it's India. Something that I think Amazon has these checkout markets, right? These checkout things. I didn't realize that Amazon have their own supermarkets in the state of America.
Oh, wow.
So they have these things, these checkouts where you pick up from the shelves, and AI calculates as they go, right?
Yeah.
Turns out it's Indians. It's assisted Indian checkout.
Wow.
So it's Indians sitting there somewhere looking at the cameras, making sure, okay, they picked up butter, picked up milk, cream, condoms, because, well, I don't know, they're going to say that. I'm not. I mean, it's stuff like that. So what's the cream used for? Jokes. I'm just saying, this is what they're looking, and that's kind of scary, because they're also, but I'd rather humans, like at the actual checkout counter, have a human being who is earning money and hopefully sitting down, because that's a long time to be standing up.
But is that cheaper labor?
Well, to do it with one of the billions of Indians who needs the job, sure.
Right,
Get them to actually check out and look.
So like an international student?
Yes, but get this. It's all late and it's wrong, and people aren't getting charged straight away. People would be getting charged like a week later on their credit cards.
Oh my God.
Because people are still like, what did they get? What was that? Is that the cheat? Is that cheat? They didn't see,
Yeah, right. Wow.
I don't quite know exactly how, but that's how. So it's assisted Indian shopping. That's your AI shopping for you with Amazon. Right. There's another thing that they're doing in the state of America. They're going to introduce these carts, which I think is interesting. But wow, they will do whatever they can to stop people from having work, from stopping people from actually living a good enough life. They will do whatever possible. So now they've got these carts that, as you put in your cart, the cart calculates what you're putting in there. All of these are going to be, people are going to find ways around them, because the more you stop people from working, the more the people will revolt. There is a revolution on its way.
I noticed something else at the self-checkout now.
What, darling?
They've taken the weight on the... After you scan, you put it down and it weighs whatever you've done. So it knows that. They've taken that away because it slows down. Because the person that's the supervisor,
yes,
there's a person there that goes and
right.
If there's something wrong with the machine, they go and like log in stuff.
Right.
The machine runs. So the supervisor,
yes,
is constantly having to go to these machines to tell the machine that it's fine, the weight is fine. So they've taken that away. So slowly, these things are just gonna piss people off. People are just getting irritated with, it's slow, it's inconvenient, you gotta pack your own shit.
And you know what? This is what the owners have been saying about people.
Wow.
This is what owners, this is what the people who benefit, the people who make the profits. Because why are things expensive? Because people want profit. It's a huge problem, this. It is that simple. Why is everything expensive? Because of profit. Why do we still want profit? What we want is equity. There is a way around it. I don't have the time to talk about it right now. With the cost of living, we're going back to news headlines. With the cost of living, hello, cost of living. You mean the human tax? Yes, the tax we pay just because we exist. With the cost of living keeping customers away, more retailers are being forced to shut up shop for good. The rate of retail businesses shutting up shop for good more than doubled in 2 years as consumers battle a higher cost of living. Well, who's shopping? Who's purchasing anything? Who is able to buy anything? And the people who are, well, they're spending their money elsewhere. No one who actually has the money is spending the money on their inter-economy. People are shopping internationally. People are going away and, to buy their things. The people who can. Oh, gosh. The sector's lobby group is urging the federal government to provide retailers with support when it hands down its budget next month. Wow. Look, I don't really know what to say about this, but I'm going to talk about one good news thing. Dev Patel faced catastrophe every day directing his first movie, Monkey Man. I'm really, really happy for Dev Patel. We'll talk about this later because I am ecstatic. And this heralds a new thing. Well, look, it's not a new thing. This wave has been collecting momentum for a long time. It's not about to crash. It is a perpetual wave, and it has been growing. It has been growing. We're on this wave, and we've been one of the few that have been on this wave from the start. In fact, we've actually been pushing the wave. So we will talk about Dev Patel and Monkey Man soon. Okay, let's go to Fiji. Fiji Village. Let's see what's happening here. Urgent government action needed as water cuts affect thousands of people. This is the news we talked about just a few days ago, last week. So the Water Authority of Fiji divers work overnight to clear blockage, and their hourly rate is probably going to be $1.50 Fijian per, there you go. I was going to say hourly rate per hour. Hourly rate per day is going to be $1.50. Look, this is shocking for a modern city like Suva with its ancient colonial infrastructure and its, gross domestic product of something billion. Having these problems, and we encountered them ourselves when we lived in Fiji in 2022. It is terrible for regardless if it's a shack town, and these aren't really ghettos. These are just settlements, village settlements in the city areas. Regardless of whether it's them, and they probably have used to it, so they have access to more water in some ways, not water, but capability of getting water. But there's surrounded by these little village settlements are rich suburbs, where we lived in Suva, and where I'm used to living in Suva and Domain and around those areas. All these people, everybody has water cuts. Water is one of our. It's one of our the biggest things to be grateful for. It is one of our. What's the word I'm looking for? We're very lucky to have. It's one of our privileges of modern society. It's still of this day, of our technologically advanced Middle Ages. Water is still a privilege. If you've ever traveled in Asia, if you have gone around, if you've been to Tropopolis Fiji, water is still a privilege. It is crazy that there are people still struggling for water in this world. And then we get told, oh, look, we've got to do this, we've got to do this. And people get blamed for it all. So what else is happening in Fiji? Cabinet approves national minimum wage review. Really? They're still reviewing the national minimum wage. People can't pay bills. People can. There are thresholds in place. I know it's tax free. It's a high threshold, and I think that the Kaiviti, the indigenous, doesn't have to pay certain things, which I agree with. I feel every First Nations of the land should be given reparations or some sort of rental of the land. What are you reading? $4. The current national minimum wage is $4 Fijian an hour. What's that? About $2 Australian?
something like that.
What's that going to buy you? What's
Well,
that going to
it's
buy
better
any?
than $2 something that was the minimum wage.
And the cost of living, my gosh, cereals like say just your Kellogg's cornflakes is about 28 Fijian dollars. Everything is ridiculously expensive because of why? Transport. Why is transport expensive? Because the owners need their profits.
That's $18
A day.
for a
That's
box of
$18 Fijian. Australian for the
box of Kellogg's cornflakes.
How much do you love your cornflakes to pay $18 for it then, eh? I don't think so. Do you know why Kellogg's cornflakes was invented? Cornflakes was invented to actually squash libido. Check it out yourself. Go find a search engine. Kellogg's cornflakes was invented to reduce libido because this it was created, I think, during war times or something. It's quite
so boring.
That's right. Except I love corn. That's
I've had cornflakes. I don't feel like having sex right now.
But add some sugar and some hot milk. I'll tell you. But it's still got a crunch. Okay, it's still got a crunch. Anyway, so and more water cuts for thousands of people in Tamavua, Samambula, and Lami. These are really condensed areas and populated areas of comprising of all demographics. More water cuts. This is crazy. We've had some pretty terrible weather in New South Wales and, of course, the Pacific region, east coast of Australia, and therefore that side of the Pacific, and that's Fiji, etc., have been experiencing some bad weather as well. So lots and lots of rain, flooding, and then everything that hasn't got the proper infrastructure in place unfortunately can't contain these waters, and then they go and create havoc. That's what water does. Water gives, water can take away, like the sun. So what else? Are moves afoot to appoint a new supervisor of elections. So again, they love to every time you read news in Fiji, they're all attacking each other. They're all attacking each other. Oh, look, going back to what I was talking about, what's happening in Fiji weather-wise. So 18 hours ago, a severe thunderstorm and heavy rain alert in force for southeastern Viti Levu. Gosh, that's Suva. That's Suva, Pacific Harbour and all that.
Yeah, right.
Ooh, if you are watching from anywhere from Fiji, anything that affects Fiji weather-wise affects all of Fiji, and I just don't really like it. Well, this is Fiji. Right now, Fiji, it has got a deluge and it's drowning and it needs to be washed out, something severe. There's a lot of washing that needs to be done in one of the countries that sees the day first. Sees, S-E-E-S, and it should have been S-E-I-Z-E, sees the day. But there we go. Fiji is too mired under the weight of just he said, she said, they said, they're doing, blah, 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 blah. Gossip is so prevalent there, it reaches news. It's quite annoying when I know myself just how excellent Fiji is and could be. The creativity, the brilliance, all just tunnel visioned, and people cannot see outside of it because coup after coup after coup after coup have made people cuckoo. That's a very facetious way to end that, but I did not know how else to say. That people are just too afraid. They're walking on eggshells, too afraid to think outside of any of the confinements that they have. Having said that, as someone who grew up there and also had my career path in and out of Fiji in my late teens and 20s, I do know that people are just, I guess, become a bit more, hashtag island life about things, and are afraid to push outside of the boundaries or what will people think. But back in the 90s, it was a very progressive time in the world and certainly in Fiji. So I do talk about that. Please stay tuned. We have a TV guide coming your way. We have got some great programs scheduled for you. And I will be talking about what Fiji was like in the 90s in a program coming soon to your eyeballs and your ears, I guess. Stay tuned to the Lives of Our Days. We'll let you know what's happening. I'm going to move on from Fiji Village. I really like Fiji Village. I get my sources from Fiji Village, Fiji Sun, and Fiji Times. Fiji Times, I don't know what they're doing. I think there's always been these things. Fiji Times was the premier masthead print wise in Fiji, but I don't think so anymore. It's poor journalism and a lot of. I don't really understand why people think media is merely doom and gloom and political stuff. Where's the weight of information and knowledge? Just because there are media embargoes, and this is what the previous government did to Fiji Times, especially all media sources, they were, no, you can't do this, you'll be thrown in jail, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't mean you then compromise truth and excellence. Consistency of excellence. It has to be across the board with everything you do. It doesn't matter what it is. All right, I'm going to move on to Reuters. Here we go. Orange Joffrey is at it again. Trump loses bid to delay hush money trial pending gag order appeal. Look, I don't care. Gag him for life, please. But what he's doing right now, as I said yesterday, because the state of America is really, really, they've waged a war on women and on women's wombs. Now, Orange Joffrey, who was responsible for appointing the Supreme Court justices, or whatever Supreme Court, far out, extreme ridiculousness court. So the judges who overturned Roe versus Wade, and now there is this thing where all of the state of America, and now he's against that. Like, nah, just let the states decide. So now he set it in motion, and I had said this yesterday, and I will say this again. Trump is a puppet. He's dangerous only because of who is around him. This idiot could actually be put to good use. I do know he is, he's just on the side of evil, really, but he is someone who is not afraid to open his mouth and make a fool of himself. He doesn't give a shit as long as he's telling the truth, which is why he actually appeals to people of multicultural and color. It's kind of strange to me for me to see Indian people, but then sometimes I wonder what the hell Indian people are doing. Oh, gosh. When I say that, I think, especially Indians in America, they know that they have got to play the game to get ahead. And if you look around and see who is at the head of all the information highways, et cetera, and the CEOs of all the big companies, well, they bided their time, they programmed their codes, and they got to CEO, and maybe that's what it was all about. So if you really think about it, all that AI is assisted Indian programming, because that's who was coding. If not Indian, then Middle Eastern. You really don't believe that all the brilliant coders of the world are European, do you? Of European origin, no. Okay, please don't think that. Anyway, so what Reuters is, let's see what else. What else is happening here? Oh, God. Parents of Michigan school shooter sentenced to 10, 15 years in prison. Parents of Michigan school shooter. So they're blaming the parents. Which, sometimes I think that's okay. But then also, how much more are we going to blame other people for the actions of people? I'm going to look into the story a bit more, but I'm going to continue reading the headlines on Reuters. Republican operatives to pay $1.25 million for robocalls threatening black voters. Let me read that again. Republican operatives to pay $1.25 million for robocalls threatening black voters. Robocalls, so that's automated calls threatening black voters. Good Lord. Oh, UK Nobel Prize winning physicist Peter Higgs dies aged 94, and I guess that's Higgs of Higgs boson.
Yeah, wow. Of course.
They all live so old, these privileged people.
Have they even found that freaking...
What is Higgs boson looking for? The God particle?
The Higgs boson is the God particle.
Oh. So they've named a God particle after... Look, I don't like that. That's just like naming Uluru after some idiot who happened to be the minister of that state. That's why they called it Ayers Rock at first, but it's Uluru. Now, continuing with the headlines, Hamas says Israel proposal fails to meet demands, but is under review. Of course, the Israeli proposal is going to fail to meet demands. Israel is going to say no to everything the Palestinians by way of Hamas. By the way, understand that Hamas is merely retaliating on behalf of Palestine. They are not Palestinians per se. They are comprised of Palestinians, the PLO, Palestinian Liberation Army. But Hamas is funded by other Middle Eastern countries, and it is about just so really when you're talking about it, it is an Israeli started, no, you know what? It's a US started war between Israeli and the freedom fighters that are fighting for Palestinians' freedom. Is it complicated? No, it's not. It's really not. It's complex, yes. Actually, no, it's complex, and they're making it unnecessarily complicated. Oh, must be time to move into Studio K. So I'm going to quickly continue reading some headlines. Middle East, Britain will not block arms sale to Israel, says UK's Cameron. Wow. Neither is Australia. They're not stopping their arms sale, so they're still arming Israel. By the way, I refuse to play this game. I know it's detrimental to our reach, but as a legitimate news source and of a viewpoint, I am not going to now write, what is it called when you've got to replace, oh God, I'm sorry, my apologies, I'm missing the words. But, you have to write Gaza and Palestine with, to replace the E's with number 3, etc., just so the bots don't punish us. And I understand why we have to do that on social media platforms, but I'm stopping doing that as well. I'm also mentioning it. And if it does happen that they're going to block me, and they've been doing that for a while, my reach on Instagram depending on what I share. If I share on my stories photographs of myself, of Dwayne and me, of flowers, etc., then my reach goes back up to three-figure numbers. But when I talk about the atrocities that are happening in the world, and please understand, what is happening in Palestine is not the only atrocity and crisis happening in the world. This is the prevailing and the prevalent one, and the one that has seemed to capture the world's loyalty. Simply because we are human and we're seeing a genocide happen right in front of us. It is genocide TV. And we're also seeing very, very damaged people damage themselves even further, because what are they going to say to their grandchildren? Do they really think that their grandchildren will not have these questions when they're people of Jewish faith who are not Israeli, but even Israelis are saying, this is not speaking for me. And people of the Jewish faith who lived through the most heinous things that happened to them, when they said never again, they meant never again. And they meant it for other people as well. Those people in Israel are not fighting on behalf of people of Jewish faith. Understand this before you take your side. This is not anti-Semitism. And by the way, understand what Semitism means. Semite is a term coined by European scholars. I can't quite pinpoint the date, but it is in recent times. Some say 1700s, some say 1900s. Semite comes from the name given to one of Noah's sons, and the term was coined to describe the languages of that area. So Arabic, Hebrew, Afro, languages of the area. And that's what Semite means. So when you say someone is anti-Semite because they are saying something against the people who are committing genocide, you are actually saying that that person is, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, because you too then are anti-Semite, because you are then against people of Arab descent, people who are of Arabic origin and ancestry, Arabic people. So if you're against them, you too are anti-Semite. It's as simple as that. Carrying on with the headlines, chaos of Gaza war forces Christians to bury dead in Muslim cemeteries. Forces Christians. Look, what's with this segregation? Christianity and Islam are very similar. What is with the segregation? If it was the angel Gabriel who Muhammad saw, in the cave before he came out to spread the word of Islam. I'm not sure I see why, but I'm not going to talk ill of that. It's terrible. People of faith not being allowed. So it's a war against people. By now, we all know that war has got nothing to do with religion. It's got nothing to do with any of that. It's just got to do with land, with property. Who put the ex-European refugees there? Why? Let's continue. Germany denies accusation of aiding a genocide in Gaza at world court. Look, I still don't know if I'm pronouncing Gaza correctly. I hear Gaza, and everywhere the anglicized pronunciation is Gaza, but sounds so Anglo. I'm not sure. So if you do know, please let me know the correct pronunciation of Gaza, because I can't quite say it the Arabic way. But Germany denies accusation of aiding a genocide. Oh my goodness, the hypocrisy of this. Oh my gosh. How did these people end up in there? How did Israel come to being? Israel, by the name, is a biblical name of a king. How did they end up there? Because the people of Germany who decided to join that, socialist or People's Party, that then the acronym came to be known as Nazi, the Nazis, right? Kristallnacht, what is that? Crystal Night. What did they do to the fellow Germans who happen to be people of Jewish faith? Well, Germany certainly aided a genocide in Germany 100 years ago, thereabouts, over that time. And because of their actions, because they were convinced by an Austrian, by the way, who grew up in a village that was just anti-Jewish people, the mayor, Adolf's mayor, instilled in these people the hatred for Jewish people. Adolf then went over to Germany and told an entire country to hate Jewish people. Why? Because they didn't accept a Jew as the God or son of God, etc. And by the way, that was Yeshua. Yeshua's brown. Yeshua was a brown man born in Palestine. Continuing with that. So Germany denies accusation of aiding a genocide. And they are, by the way, on the side of Israel. So that's their guilt for what they did to their ex-Germans. That's Germany's guilt. So that's why they are aiding the people who call themselves Israelis, because of the guilt that they did it. They started it. They did it. And the U.S. capitalized on it. They're all in cahoots, my friend. Let's move on to just some quick headlines. Associated Press, Arizona court ruling makes nearly all abortions illegal in a presidential battleground state. There you go, state of America, land of the free, except if you've got a womb, then I'm sorry, you can't do anything with it. Very soon, you won't be able to put a tampon inside your vagina without first getting a court order. An Arizona Supreme Court decision that would end virtually all abortions in the state puts the issue front and center in a critical 2024 battleground. Prosecutors urge Supreme Court to reject Trump's immunity claims in election subversion case. So I've already read that. These are headlines from somewhere else. Oh, good Lord. Look, this is, I don't know what to say. The state of America. We are seeing the state of America implode. It is building. The implosion is building. The bomb that they are building, I can see the outlines of it forming. And it is an internal atomic bomb. It really is an internal atomic bomb. With that, my friend, I am going to, my dear friends who are here supporting news and transparency, we are now going to move, because we are now heading to Studio K to talk about the rest of the Daily Eggs information. We're going to be talking about Monkey Man, Dev Patel. Let's see what he's been up to. So follow me, come with me. And in case you're wondering why we're wearing blues today, well, that's because although I am not Hindu, I do actually... I like Hinduism because it is a very science and frequency and universal based belief system. And now, of course, it's patriarchal, the belief systems. But I assure you, if you read further, none of the belief systems that we have governing the world are in any way patriarchal. So anyway, according to the celebration or the religious commemoration in the Hindu calendar right now, it's what we call Navratri, a 9-night celebration of the goddess Durga. It happens twice a year, and Durga is an incarnation of Shakti, which is the primordial force in the world. It's all about frequencies. It's wonderful. So the different colors actually that are attributed to all the different days, and it's 8 days of wearing different colors. Those colors actually work with your brain waves to create different senses of things. Like blues are used for communication. Blues are used to think, and it activates your throat chakra. So all the colors that are, and it's a deeper blue. So all the colors that are assigned to the days that are attributed to the different goddess worship, because Durga, and then she has different incarnations. They're different names. I don't really know that much about it, but there are different prayers, etc., that you offer, and then the different colors you wear. Now I've got into this habit of saying "my friends," which is it's kind of condescending a little, isn't it, or something? I don't know how to say it. My viewers. No, dear viewers, is very much a frequency, an alpha wave thing, because that's how we see colors. We perceive colors according to how it hits our optic wavelengths, and then how our neural pathways are, then
Cool, yeah.
filter out what that color means to us in our brains.
That's so beautiful. Why have we lost all of these things?
They're all there.
Colors, vibration, like light.
Frequencies and light.
Frequency.
Yeah. It's all there. The spirituality is in our science. Religion saw that. And this is what I like about Hinduism. It is very much, especially the Vedic, but I don't know too much about the South Indian beliefs, but they're beautiful. Please know this. South Indians are the indigenous of India, the Dravidians. They were there first. The North Indians, well, they invaded. Yes, they are very much Indians, but they were invaders for starters. I am North Indian, and I have South Indian. So I'm 2/3 North Indian and 1/3 South Indian, and I really love that because I feel like, yes, I have got all parts of my ancestry, but I am all Indo-Fijian, baby. So, anyway, we are talking about Monkey Man. Excuse me while I also cough.
All right.
I forgot to get my tea too. So, look. Wow, so how did they see Halley's Comet in 837?
So here, it says it was just before telescopes, just eyes and patterns.
Sure.
To understand the movement.
And they would have seen Halley's Comet back then because we didn't have the infrastructure and electricity that was absorbing all the light, etc. So imagine looking up, the year is 837 on the Julian calendar. People are warring, blah, 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 the usual shit. The Julian calendar being Julius Caesar. He was the one who created this calendar back when there was just 10 months on the calendar, which is why, if you actually, the names of the months don't actually correlate, because September, Set, which is 7, is the 9th month, and December is the 12th month, but Dec is the prefix, which means decagon, 10-sided. So, 10 thing. And that's because January and February were added later to make up for the fact that, we needed extra days in a year kind of thing. So that was the Roman Empire back then messing around with dates and times because they couldn't figure out, because they were always late. Forget Fiji time. Roman Empire time is a problem. We're talking about Dev Patel's Monkey Man, but on the juice. Look, for today's The Juice, I will end the Daily Egg with that, but I want to talk about Monkey Man, which is a new movie starring and written or co-written and directed by Dev Patel, who I have to tell you is one of our favorite actors ever. Certainly mine. When I first saw Dev Patel in Slumdog Millionaire, I thought, wow, this young man can act. And you know, it's been quite. I can imagine it's been quite a struggle for Dev because no one really knows how to place him, what to do with him. He's no secondary character. He's not a character actor. This is a leading man, but they don't want to see an Indian leading man in Hollywood. Also because they can't quite pigeonhole him. They can't stereotype him because Dev Patel is British. He's got a British accent. He's an Indo-British man who was born in Kenya, I believe, to Gujarati parents who are Hindu. So he grew up with the stories of the Hindu theology. Monkey Man, to a Hindu, we know who Monkey Man is. It's Hanuman. So this is what this movie is based on. We are going to see it, so we're not going to review it right now. I just want to talk about how difficult it must have been for Dev, and this is what he's saying. And I read out that news piece. I didn't read out the piece, but I did read out the headlines. So all that. Now we know he started in Slumdog Millionaire. Did you know that Dev Patel is a Taekwondo black belt, etc., etc.? He should be an action hero in Hollywood. They make this most stupidest people. Plus, he's tall. I mean, do you know how tall Tom Cruise is? Jason Statham, Sylvester Stallone, all of these people. Oh, I don't know. I can't name action heroes. Ask me to name an action woman. Ha! I can tell you so many. But we're talking about Dev Patel here.
Well, the first action woman.
Oh yeah, Jennifer Lawrence in Hunger Games. Ooh, forget about Wonder Woman and Linda Carter and Angie Dickinson in The Police One in the 70s. What else? Oh, Charlie's Angels. No. Jennifer Lawrence was the first action hero, female-wise. And I'm just even going back to the 70s. I haven't even started with the 80s and 90s. But if you go and do your search engine thing and see, Jennifer Lawrence actually said in an interview she was the first female action hero. All right, white girl. All right. Of course she, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Oh, I was being sarcastic. Oh, no, I'm going to fall over.
It's all good.
That's Jennifer Lawrence. That's the tactic, the strategy is here. Oh, I'm just every girl. I'm just so cool or whatever. And then she's just going to fall over glamorously. Fuck. Oh, this isn't. Oh, yeah, we're swearing. It's whatever. Monkey Man. Monkey Man is a 2024 action thriller film directed and co-produced by Dev Patel in his directorial debut. He also co-wrote the screenplay. The film stars Patel and quite a host of multicultural performers and, Subhita Dhulipala, who is the lead of a favorite television show of ours, Made in Heaven. Yeah. It's an Indian production. It is super cool, available on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I recognize the from.
Yes, well, she's the lead in that, and it is such an incredible TV series. There's 2 seasons of it. We're waiting for the 3rd season. Such an excellent modern-day India. Makes us want to go and live in Delhi. It's a great cast, great storylines. Made in Heaven. It tackles topics that Eurostream productions are not tackling. This really, really is because people assume, it's Indian, it's going to be conservative. They won't push the boundaries. India has always pushed the boundaries, and unfortunately the patriarchy has always pushed it back. It's the conservatives versus the progressives, and that is a problem the world over. The world over. I can tell you how progressive Fiji was, and I can tell you how conservative it is now, which is crazy considering the amount of people who cannot be confined. Fiji is a microcosm of the world. Talk about that another time. I'm going to go back to Monkey Man. So, Monkey Man, right? Gosh, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the movie. Maybe we should watch it.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about it, and we'll let you know where, because we've got a few programs coming your way on the Lives of Our Days. We'll be sharing the schedule, the TV guide shortly. And there's some really, really, really good things coming up, and we're excited, and I hope you're excited too. So with Dev, so after Slumdog Millionaire, right? I noticed that, wow, what a great actor. And who was Danny Boyle? He was the director of Trainspotting. The reason he chose Dev Patel is because he couldn't find the proper character in India. But his daughter, who had been watching this British television show called Skins or something, that's what Dev Patel was in, said, try him. And back then, There was just a thin, lanky, but not really. He just looks lanky because there are people who can look just thin and lanky, but if you actually see them, there's just muscles bulging on top of muscles type thing, you know? So I just looked at Dev and went, holy cow, because there was a scene in Slumdog Millionaire when the cop, played by the late, Irfan Khan. Oh, my apologies, the name is slipping my memory. Oh, gosh. I can't remember the cop's name. But he is like, you know, like they're torturing. They're not being very good in the police station. They're actually tying him up and, you know, belting him and saying, how do you know the answers to these questions because he is on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Irfan, yeah. And so, and you know, oh gosh, but there's this scene, well, Dev is tied up or something, I don't know, he's like this, and the camera's on his most incredible, expressionful face, subtle. There's no subtle pain. Like, I can't act, so I'm sorry, but Dev does this thing. This is why I know how good actors can be, because I cannot act. I do know that because in my early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, throughout my 30s, when I had an agent, I was as a model and for television commercials worldwide. I'll tell you about that another time, these other programs. So I do know that I am not an actor. I can be me in the various ways I need to be, but I cannot detach myself from myself enough to become and inhabit somebody else's character. I hope that makes sense. Actors have this incredible ability to detach and become and use their vessel to become someone else, and Dev can do that. So all he did was just this subtle, I can't even do it. It's just this subtle look. He just looked up like, and all the pain and grief of his life, but the strength of him and the pride and the humility, and just like, come on, I'm not lying. You know, he didn't say anything. It was just all in his eyes. But you know, Frida Pinto, who plays his girlfriend, and his purpose in that movie, well, she got cast by Hollywood because she's a gorgeous young woman. And the privilege gorgeous young women have, the opportunities gorgeous young women get. Hey, I used to be a gorgeous young woman. I know. The privilege of looks isn't talked about enough, because the opportunities young women who are good looking, and young men, depending on where they are, but generally young women. So Frida Pinto went on to, you know, star in some movies, blah, 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 one with Henry Cavill, The Immortals or something. But Dev struggled to find roles. I mean, and then the next one was The Exotic Marigold Hotel. Look, the first movie I love, but Dev's personality in that is totally not him. He's had to be, you know, a hustling young Indian man with the Indian accent and blah, 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 blah. Great movie. Fun movie. But that wasn't, you know, but that's what an actor does. They've got to play against type. They've got to play against who they are. Still not the right roles. And then this is a movie we don't necessarily talk about, because if I mention this movie, Dwayne will be like, what? What do you mean, what movie? This movie doesn't...
Hotel?
No, there's another movie Dev Patel was in that we don't like to talk about, because M. Night Shyamalan.
Right.
M. Night Shyamalan, who is a favorite director of ours, by the way, because hello, The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, this is art. M. Night Shyamalan just needs, am I saying his name correctly? Just needs the correct script and just...
His script.
His script.
Don't touch anybody else's stuff. Just do your own thing. Love your work. Please.
Because M. Night Shyamalan directed Avatar.
What?
Nothing?
What movie?
Yeah. This movie called Avatar that is based on Nickelodeon? Avatar, Nickelodeon, which by the way is on Netflix right now. But we can't talk about the movie version because it was really, really bad. But Dev Patel was in it, and he should have actually been the star of it, not the antagonist. But then
That's impossible. He couldn't have been the protagonist.
Okay. And then we move on to Lion. And so I do know a bit about Dev's career, because as an Indian ancestry person, I follow the careers of people. But Dev is not just an Indian actor to me. He is an actor, global, and one of my favorite, top 5. Christian Bale, Dev Patel, These are my two top male actors of the world. Don't start me on the women because I may never stop. So, well, look, I have to confess something. I do like Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I think there's been a huge, deep, fake lie spread about Tom Cruise ever since YouTube started. And I will share that. I will do a deep dive on that later. But anyway, so Lion, right? But in between, everyone knows about Lion. It's based on the kid Shrew who got adopted by Australian parents. In Lion, Nicole Kidman played his mother. Blah blah blah. Whatever. But it was a good movie, very subtle. And how do you make a movie that is just about someone searching online for where he could have been born in India, and he was adopted when he was 4 or 5, so all he's got are just flashes of memory. But Dev makes it compelling viewing. It's a compelling story, real story. But there was this other movie called The Wedding Guest, I think, and where Dev plays... well, he plays not an assassin, but he plays some sort of rescuer, action man rescuer. I watched this on a flight to where was I flying off to? Somewhere in the Middle East. Somewhere in the Middle East. I was flying off to maybe Jordan, I don't know. And I watched this en route. Oh my gosh, I watched it again. It's such a good movie. Very slow burn.
Never heard of it.
Slow burn, but he's an action hero, and I have been waiting since then for Dev to have an action movie to showcase who he is, because whoa. And it was also a bit of a love story as well, but not really. It was just the sexy thing, it was sexy. But it's a complex movie and not what people expect. And very few people have seen it, I'm sure, but it is a very, very good movie. Dev Patel makes everything he's in. It'll be a commercial and Dev will sell it, really, but they just don't want to make him a star. They don't want to make him a star. They didn't want to make John Cho a star, because John Cho proved when he was cast as Sulu in Star Trek what an action hero he was. Because when Sulu and Kirk and one other, because the one other was the one that dies, I guess, when the three of them go down to wherever they have to, John Cho is hot. Oh my gosh. And everything John Cho has started or wanted to do, it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Because they don't want to make people like John Cho and Dev Patel, who are gorgeous. They don't want to make them stars. They'll take the women, they'll make them, because it serves their purpose. Because women are deciders. Women are the deciders of the world, even though the men make the decisions. Not the men, the patriarchy. But wow, yeah, holy cow, that was, and then finally, The Green Knight. What a movie. We loved The Green Knight.
Brilliant.
What a movie. And he was also in in the David Copperfield movie, A Stroke of Genius, casting again. Who cares about what a person looks like if they can play that role? And then people will say, well, that's what white people have been doing all this time. When they cast themselves as black and brown people and people of the Middle East. Yeah. Okay. But what I'm saying then is, why can't we, as they did, as I can't remember who the director of that David Copperfield movie is, but they cast Dev Patel as David Copperfield, Stroke of Genius. And apparently, I haven't watched that movie, but it's...
My goodness. We should
watch it, yes. It's such wonderful casting, and the bits and pieces I've seen, he's just sparks. And there's this other one that Dev Patel was in, and I don't know if it's New Yorker or New York Times, had this series of love stories, of stories about love and what happens, etc. And so they brought this to life as a series of... like a TV series.
Yeah, right.
Did we watch it together, darling?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
And Dev Patel is cast in one. So my two favorite episodes from this series, I think they're called Love Stories or something. Can you find out, my darling? One stars Anne Hathaway. She is brilliant. She is one of my top female actors, top actresses of the world. And the other one is starring Dev Patel, and it is lovely.
Modern Love.
Modern Love, right, Modern Love. So Dev, that's on Amazon Prime. Not sponsored by Amazon Prime, I'm just telling you have to go watch it. So Dev plays the lead, who he has he's a genius who's got a startup that's making a lot of money, so he's in the news, blah blah blah, etc. etc. But this journalist asks him about love, and he has had to give up. He lost the great love of his life. Not lost him in the death, but just because of a mistake he made, of some of his own stupidity, which he owns up to in the. But wow, Dev is so dreamy, because all the women are going, yeah, please. So women know Dev Patel is a leading man. Women of all racial groupings know Dev Patel is a leading man. He's not a Hindi cinema leading man, because Hindi cinema, they like to have overinflated and posh and polished and. Yeah, I'm not into Hindi cinema men.
Through the hair.
Wind through the hair. All that shit. I'm not a fan of Hindi cinema actors. I'm sorry. Old school, yes. Take me back to 70s, 80s, and 90s. Then we're talking. Now, I'm not a fan. I'm certainly not I don't really watch the movies of this time, so sorry about that. Great music in a lot of them. We listen to a lot of Hindi cinema music because there's really good beats, etc. But so Dev Patel is not a Hindi cinema leading man. He's way too much of an actor. I'm not saying the Hindi cinema actors are not actors. I'm not saying that. But anyway, so finally we get, so he's proven his action chops. He's proven his leading man, the women are going to go gaga over him chops. And gay guys, I don't know if gay guys are into someone like Dev, but what? Everyone should be. And guys should look at someone like Dev and go, yeah, that's a man. Humble, but is capable. Don't forget, he is a Taekwondo black belt. And I remember watching the Graham Norton show, which is a very, very popular talk show by Irish-English talk show host Graham Norton, one of the funniest people on television worldwide.
Really good.
Very, very good. What a wonderful, that's the kind of show I would love, except Graham really knows how to interview people. And I do too, but I also like to talk. Graham knows when not to talk, and I'm a talker, so I'm a conversationalist. Graham Norton is an interviewer, and I love his show. When they were promoting Lion, so it was Nicole Kidman and Dev Patel, and you can hear Dev's English accent, but Nicole is saying to Dev, come on, do that thing you do in her, in her way. Go do a backflip. Go on, do a backflip, because he's very acrobatic, etc. And the crowd's going, Graham's going, come on, yeah, do it. And the crowd's going, Dev, and Dev's like, no, come on, no, because he's not a show pony, and he doesn't need to be begged to do that. He only does what he has to do when he has to do that. And he was there to promote this movie. And he wasn't there to do theatrical shit. I love that. I just love that. I do love absolute confidence and absolute humility in a man. And just, I really love that. But, so there you go. That was, so that's Dev Patel. And now he's in his own movie. It's at cinemas now. Please, if you can, go and watch it, because it really matters what happens at the box office. This is why Barbie went on to crack the $1 billion thing, because and why Black Panther did so well as well, and why anything to do with Crazy Rich Asians did so well, because we multicultural people have to go and show our support financially. We have to actually do it. Even those of us who can't quite have spare money to do these things right now, because we've got so many startups and projects. You've got to do it. You've got to show your support financially. You have to. Because regardless of how good the movie is, regardless of how critics will talk about it, if it doesn't show the returns, if it doesn't show the proof at the box office, they're going to say, nah, didn't work. They do this to women all the time. They do this to Angelina Jolie. They did this to Gina Davis. They do this all the time. But whereas the males can get shit movie after shit movie, directors, actors, whatever. Last one failed, doesn't matter. Who gives a shit about Brad Pitt? Got to do a deep dive on him though. Anyway, there you go. I'm going to now end this with a question that is going to be part of the juice. What are you most grateful for today? Please let us know. What are you most grateful for today, my darling?
You.
I was going to say you too.
You.
You, I'm so grateful for you.
So grateful.
Oh, life can be really, really quite As long as you have people who get you, it's not just about an intimate relationship. This is my best friend. I wish for you all a best friend to be grateful for, to actually go, wow, thank you. Thank you. And other than that, I'm grateful for me. Don't forget to be grateful for yourself, because you are the one that gets up every day. You are the one that is resilient. You shouldn't have to be resilient, but you are the one that is stoic. You are the one that opens your eyes and to another day and says, okay, let's do it. Let's see what today brings. Always be grateful for yourself. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for watching. Our viewership is small, but we are growing, and that's because of you. And we are all looking for transparency and truth. Thank you for finding it here. We'll see you tomorrow on the Daily Egg, because this is what it's all about. The Daily Egg for April 10th, 2024. See you tomorrow. Bye. Thank you, my darling.